Blue Jays Today, where the boys always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Palago.
And I'm your host, Adam Fettel. If you watched our CTV interview, you would know what that means. But today, guys, we're going to be breaking down the Toronto Blue Jays versus the Seattle Mariners in the Wild Card Series this Friday, this Saturday, and maybe this Sunday.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and use code TODAYJAYS to get discounted deals on Betstamp. Sign up using the link in the description. All right, this is awesome. It's finally here, Nick. We finally get to talk about the Blue Jays in the postseason after 2 long years. What are your thoughts, first of all, about the Seattle Mariners?
Well, let's go back a few months, folks. Toronto takes a little roadie. We go out to what's considered to be like basically our second home, the home away from home, because so many of the fans of the Toronto Blue Jays make a trip across the border, say hello while we're in Seattle. That did no favors for us, though, this time around, folks. 0-4 in a series on the road against Seattle. That did not instill me with a whole lot of confidence once I saw that.
That made me fear them. Quite a lot.
Absolutely, dude. Then we do end up with them coming back to Toronto.
Yeah.
We deliver the bops a little bit.
Yeah.
We take 2 out of 3, which, makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, that was a bit earlier. That was around May-ish time of the year, but I think the road trip was around June, July.
Oh, okay.
But my point being is that's so far away from what these teams are now.
It's a way in the past.
Way in the past. Trade deadline has happened. Players breaking out have happened. And in the last month of this Blue Jays and Mariners season, the teams have been very different. The Blue Jays rank number 1 and number 2 in most offensive categories. Average, on-base slugging, OPS. Where the Mariners, they're just cracking the top 10s in terms of the offense. So they're a good hitting team, but definitely not as good as the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and let's take a moment and go through that lineup there, folks. You're looking at dudes like Ty France. He's obviously elite and shown himself as being a stud. You're looking at a breakout star in Julio Rodriguez. Take note, folks. These are literal names that you are going to be seeing come to the plate every, 9th AB in this series. And they're the guys who are going to be doing damage. J.P. Crawford started out really hot. Yeah. He's definitely tapered off as time has gone on. This is a deep lineup, in my opinion. You have a star player in Julio Rodriguez, and I think a very, very talented player in Ty France. And then you have a lot of really good guys that I'd want on my team, guys that I'd be happy to field every single day. Maybe not Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s or Aaron Judge's or Mike Trout's, but still quality players. So those stats about them being around the 10 mark, that actually makes a lot of sense for me, considering their lineup and considering how their team is made up.
It does absolutely. Now, on the pitching side of things, the Seattle Mariners are supposed to have a really good pitching team, and the overall season numbers do reflect that. However, in the last month, and I was just taking the last 30 days, the ERA for the Seattle Mariners ranks 19th in all of baseball.
That's good.
And 10th
That's nice.
That's really nice. 10th in WHIP, so that's still pretty decent, but a 4.10 ERA versus the Toronto Blue Jays, not much better. 17th in all of baseball, just under 4 with a 3.98. So at least our pitching as of late has been pretty even. And with those Blue Jays bats, I'm feeling pretty confident going into the series.
Well, and I will say, as far as the starting pitching thing goes, and maybe we'll really delve into the matchups here, I think that, we are pretty equal when you look at it. I mean, when you're looking at their 3 guys, if we end up having to play 3 games, their 3 guys that we are most likely going to see, Louis Castillo, guaranteed, locked in. He's the day 1 guy versus Alek Manoah. Louis Castillo, very, very good, 2.99 ERA. They traded for him at the trade deadline. He is a stud, and they locked him up for a long time, too.
Yeah.
We're also definitely going to see Logan Gilbert. He's having an incredible year, 3.21 ERA, or 3.2 ERA, on that guy. And then also, we all know him. We all kind of love him. I don't know, maybe not love him this weekend. Robbie Ray, obviously. He got the bag this offseason and started out really bad, really bad, and then really had a solid bounce back second half. And he's a good pitcher right now for those Mariners.
Yeah, so. Well, why don't we dive into those matchups like you were just saying there? So game 1, Louis Castillo versus Alek Manoah. In just terms of the last 30 days, because I really do believe a playoff team is made by whatever they're doing in the last month. If they're hot, they're coming in hot, they're going to stay hot. So for Alek Manoah, he's by far the hottest pitcher in baseball in the last 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good.
Amazing, bro. An ERA of 0.88, setting a Blue Jays franchise record for lowest ERA in a single month. That is incredible.
That is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Actually. That is very good. And that's also, instills me with a lot of confidence
Yes.
going in. Having that dude be your game one. I remember there were conversations a few months back, even a few weeks back, being like, well, like, should he be our game one?
Oh, dude.
I mean, obviously, it's like just the stats don't lie. Like, there's just no argument at this point to say anything otherwise.
No.
So I'm very happy with that matchup. Now, I do think Luke Castillo is very good. However, he's not been doing that good.
Yeah, he's been doing what Luis Castillo has been doing. He's got a 3.48 ERA, opponent batting average of 2.27, so he's going to be a tough matchup.
Yes, absolutely.
So, for me, this game one, it really does come down to, can the offensive just put up a couple runs against Luis Castillo, grab a couple more later in the game? Because if Alek Manoah is on, and he has been on, as we've just talked about, then that should be enough, ideally, shouldn't it?
Potentially. And this is going to segue me into, I think, the big point that I want to talk about here in this kind of series preview. I was looking at Seattle, and I mean, for some reason, last year and this year, they led the league in one-run games.
Right.
That's not a fluke. You know, it's a fluke if you do it in one season, but when you do it 2 seasons in a row, it's not a fluke. So I was like, hey, what the hell? Like, why is this the case? You know, like, something's got to be driving this. One, their bullpen's really good.
Their bullpen is.
3.34 ERA from the bullpen. That ranks 6th in all of baseball. If we end up seeing Eric Swanson and Paul Sewald, the game's over.
Right.
So, like, you do not want to see those guys walk onto the mound. That means bad things for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, and you gotta imagine that one of those guys, if they're not gonna blow them in the later parts of the game, they might come out in relief in the middle part of the game to stop a huge Blue Jay
Like if it's
rally.
a do or die thing.
If it's a do or die thing,
for
you're gonna see one of those guys. And the Blue Jays, hopefully managed by John Schneider, we might do something similar.
We might do something similar with an Anthony Bass or with a really strong player on our end. You know, if we're looking, a little bit scary right now, we got to put out the fire.
Right.
So, I mean, like, their bullpen, I do think is better than ours necessarily on the season. It might not be on, like, right now because we did acquire a lot of guys, but just take note, like, very good bullpen there, and they're going to have some good arms coming out in the 6th and onward.
Yeah.
Then there's another thing here, and this is something that's a bit concerning to me and definitely advantage Seattle, and it's just defense.
Right.
Defense. Now, I've liked the Toronto's Blue Jays defense.
Overall,
as a whole.
they've been good.
Like, we're better.
Yeah.
But it's very clear, like, we are the underdog when it comes to that category.
Right.
I mean, 3rd lowest errors in the league, 4th best fielding percentage in the league. Those are way better than what we have going on. And I mean, like, their errors are just like, they're low, man. Like, they're low. It's like everybody is solid. And that really paints the picture of, it's like, okay, so this is how they're getting it done.
Right.
They score a few, they get their good bullpen in, and then the defense locks it down. So, for me, when we're talking key matchups here in Game 1, score 5 immediately.
Yeah, you gotta
like,
get,
we
you
gotta
get
put
to
up,
Luis
you know?
Castillo. And Luis Castillo is, he's prone to a couple blow-up games here and there, where Alek Manoah really hasn't been. He has not really been blown up at all. I think maybe once, maybe twice in the season he gave up 4 runs.
Yeah.
So, for you're right. We do need to blow him up. And on our end, speaking of defense and pitching, we can't make mistakes.
No.
Because if we make mistakes, we are just handing it over to them.
Yeah, for sure.
And that has been, like, the youthful part of the team. A lot of people have argued, like, oh, we're making mental mistakes, physical mistakes. We cannot be doing that in October.
Yeah.
We just cannot be, guys. So if we can remove those mistakes from the game, get to Castillo early, I think Game 1... I think we're going to be favored in, but I think Game 1's a lock, and we got to take it.
And that's the thing, right? It's like, I think that they're not going to make mistakes. Like, they're not. You know?
Yeah.
I could see a narrative where it's like, if it's tight, if it's close, something does come down to, like, oh crap, Bo Bichette really did make that throw and he airmailed it over Vlad, right? And, like, there's Julio Rodriguez rounding the bases. That's something that we just can't let it happen because they're not going to let it happen for us.
Right.
The stupid errors that Boston's made against us, that's not going to, those are freebies and I love them, but they're not going to come here.
No.
Everything is going to come hard. And it might make the long bomb, like the long ball for the Toronto Blue Jays, that much more important, right? Because those slap singles are that much harder to come by.
Yeah, dude. Do we get another bat flip situation
Could
with
be.
a big long bomb
Could
in this
freaking be.
series?
Could
I
be.
like it.
Let's say game 2 right now.
Right.
Game 2, I mean, it's still up in the air about who's going to pitch right now. Who do you think you have going?
Personally, it's just looking at the team. We have no idea who they're going to roll out. But for the Toronto Blue Jays, you got to imagine they're going to roll out Gausman just because it's Kevin Gausman, right? Like, obviously, look at the stats. I prefer Ross Stripling. He's been solid, where Kevin Gausman has not been. And last month, he has a 4.19 ERA. But because it's Kevin Gausman, he's a little bit of a veteran leadership guy. You know what you're going to get. You might throw him out in game 2. What do you think?
I mean, I do agree with you. I think that makes sense. And I'd be really okay with if Gausman... See, I honestly, I'm good with either of them.
Yeah,
I'm good with either
I
of them.
don't care.
I do think it's probably going to be Gausman, so let's just ride with that. Let's say it's Gausman.
However, I do think that it really does matter for the Seattle Mariners who they decide to roll out in Game 2. Because looking at Robbie Ray, who's their Kevin Gausman, veteran guy signed to a big deal, in the last 30 days, he has not been that good either. 4.32 ERA with an opponent batting average of 2.89. So he in his last couple outings, he's been getting slapped around. His last outing, he gave up 5 runs.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it's like if they do roll him out in Game 2, thinking that, okay, so let's say we did win Game 1. If they roll him out Game 2, they're basically almost giving us the series. Right? Because their other pitcher would have been Gilbert, who we all know Gilbert. He's fantastic. Yeah. He's rock solid. I don't want to see Gilbert in Game 2.
I'll be honest, I think it's going to be Gilbert.
I got a feeling
it's going to be Gilbert.
I do.
I think that it's just, this is one of those situations where, yes, we paid Robbie Ray the big bucks, and absolutely, like, he's very, very good. But at the end of the day, the stats don't lie, you know? It's just like, it's kind of like, to a lesser extent, you know, like how we feel about Jose Barrios, you know? Yeah, walking into the season, this would have been our man, but at this point, like, Logan Gilbert's just a little bit too good. Yeah. And also, too, there's a history there. It's like these Blue Jays hitters, like...
We can't hit like Gilbert.
Exactly. We can't. And, you know, we know Robbie Ray's stuff almost better than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
We know Robbie Ray's stuff almost better than anybody. Like, I wouldn't want to pitch Robbie Ray if I didn't have to. Right. Save him for the ALDS if you end up making it there. Pitch him Game 1. Yeah. That's what I would do. So I do think it's going to be Gilbert Game 2. That's going to be a very, very tough matchup. Yeah. I don't really want to go down the rabbit hole of, like, oh, if we lose and whatever. Like, that's just what we think right now, and I really hope that we can take it right there.
Yeah, and then Game 3 matchups, what would you say? We obviously got to roll out Stripling.
It would then be Stripling, and it would be Robbie Ray if we need it. You know? That's what that would look like.
So let me ask you then. So we talked about the matchup, talked about the team. How do you feel? Do you think the Blue Jays are going to win? What's your prediction? And keep bias completely out of it.
Yeah, so, I mean, after looking at some of these defensive stats and some of that bullpen ERA and stuff, it did definitely scare me a little bit. And I see the pathway to victory for these Seattle Mariners. Like, I can see it on the screen. I watch it happening right now. And I wrote down the keys to victory. I have one key to victory right now, and it's don't get frustrated. I could see these games being low scoring, gritty affairs, you know, 3-2, 4-2, like something in that regard, right? And I could see like us going 4 or 5 innings without scoring a run.
Right. Going 3 up, 3 down.
Exactly.
Every single time.
You know, it's like we can't let that get to us. We can't get in our heads, start making mental mistakes on the defensive side of things, and then also like start forcing things in that 6th and that 7th, because that's how these guys win. They grind you down. You know, they score 1 run, they score 2 runs, and then it's just like, okay, let's park the bus up and like we're just gonna grind you to victory. We cannot let them do that. We got to stay in our rhythm. We cannot get frustrated.
And, you know, to that extent, I think my key to victory is coming out of the gates hot, right? Just like you said, they can lock it down later with good defense and good pitching. Come out the gates hot, ready to play. Have focused at bats, right? Take a couple pitches if that's your approach. Swing at the first pitch fastball if that's your approach, right? Stick to your game plan. Trust your stuff, right? If you have a good read on Luis Castillo in Game 1 or you got a good read on Gilbert in Game 2, you got to go and swing at that early pitch, that early fastball. Get on the board early. If you're maybe not looking for it, maybe you don't have a good read on his pitches, work the count a bit. Help out your other teammates. Work them. Work a walk. Get on base. Do what you do that can win the game. Do what you do best. Say, how do I support my team? How do I contribute today to help the Toronto Blue Jays win? If they can ask themselves that and they can execute it on the field, then we got a good chance to win the
honestly,
series.
like marrying like both of what we're saying together is really important, because if they don't come out the gate hot, they want to come out the gate hot, and they don't come out the gate hot, it's like then don't get frustrated. You know, it's like chill. Like chill.
It's like
game
plan.
Stick with it. There are still 7 more innings of baseball right now. Yeah, like you're down by 1, you're down by 2. You have to push. You have to press. You know, we've seen these guys really cower under, you know, some when
big
we get
lights.
Exactly. You know, and when we get behind and all that stuff, this is our moment to chill out, to show ourselves, to show everybody that we're no longer these like little kids from AA, but we're actually real MLB sports stars who can handle situations like this.
So with that being said, what's your prediction?
I mean, I am going to predict that the Blue Jays take the W here. I think that there might be a little bit of bias involved there.
Totally.
It's impossible to take it out for sure. But you know what? We are at home. We have that home field advantage. I think that our pitching is very comparable. I think that our bats are a little bit better than theirs. And I think that all the boys are getting hot at the right time. And I really like what I'm seeing at that bottom of the lineup with the Whit Merrifield stuff, with the Teoscar Hernandez, with the Danny Jansen. All those guys are contributing. And, you know, when Louis Castillo might think, oh, that's a bit of an easier inning, it's actually not. It is tough.
No, and I'm going to ditto everything that you just said there, right? Like, that is going to be what is going to drive the Blue Jays to victory. I do think we're going to win in Game 3.
Yeah, it's not going to be I can't predict 2 games against these guys.
No.
Can't predict that.
Blue Jays in 3, that's my prediction, and just for those exact reasons you said there, sir.
Yeah.
So guys, let us know in the comments down below, what do you have for this Blue Jays versus Mariners series? Who do you have winning in how many games? And who's going to be maybe the series MVP? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Yeah, guys. Also, make sure to like and subscribe. Use the code TODAYJAYS. You get some sweet deals and discounts. The link is in the bio. Also, $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out and thank you to every single one of these current Patreon members. You guys were awesome.
And guys, thank you so much for watching.
And
go Jays, go!